Hello, thanks for taking the time to watch this video today. My name is Aaron Eberle and I'm the Lexis representative for Harvard Law School. After this video, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself. My info is here on the law school homepage. You can either text me, call me, or email me, or feel free to reach out to your student reps. Their numbers, their emails, and office hours are located here on the homepage as well. Okay, so today's video is going to look at the KidNation problem. We're going to get started by going to Lexis Advanced. And if you remember the KidNation problem, the main issues presented on appeal are whether the waivers in the contract bar the plaintiff's civil claims and whether plaintiff was entitled to workers' compensation relief as an employee of the production company. So we're going to go ahead and get started using the contracts issue. So when you run any search on Lexis or begin your research, it's always good to start with secondary sources. Secondary sources are a great place to begin because they generally lay out the law in an easy to read format, kind of give you the elements needed to be presented, and then also within those secondary sources contain either footnotes or links to the primary sources that are directly on point. So things like cases and statutes that you'll need to know. So here, let's go ahead and start with a pretty general search. So I'm going to type, can a minor disaffirm a contract also signed by their guardian? So here I've again typed a pretty general search. Before I actually run the search though, real quickly, there is the option to filter your results before you actually search. So here we're actually going to focus on just two things, cases and secondary materials. So again, if you wanted to just see those materials and not see everything that Lexis has, you can certainly do that. And then also here under jurisdiction, in the problem, we're actually limited to just California case law. So it's probably prudent for us to go ahead and click on California at this point as well. So you can see here now that we've narrowed by California, secondary materials, and case law. So you can either, hit the search button down here, or if I just exit out of here, you'll see that we have three filters applied. Otherwise, you can, obviously leave the filters at blank or 0 and run a search through everything on Lexis. The nice thing is you can do all of these things, either filtering by content area or jurisdiction post-search. But here I'm going to go ahead and leave the filters in and run this search here. Okay, so I mentioned secondary sources. Again, in terms of any general research assignment that you ever receive, either as a student or an attorney, generally the treatise, the jurisprudence, the practice guides, those are all going to be really kind of helpful jumping off points. So here you see everything in secondary materials kind of together at first. So here we have 314 total results. But here under category, you can kind of choose, pick and choose things that you may want to focus on. So, for our research, I'm going to go ahead and click on treatises, but sometimes, maybe a jurisprudence material or a practice guide may be more on point. So here I'm going to go ahead and click on treatises to get rid of all of the other materials. And again, at this point, you can now start to look at the results. Some of them look pretty helpful. A minor can disaffirm a contract regardless of whether one party had notice of the minor's age. So you can kind of read those results and start to click on them and review what the actual law is. For our purposes, I'm going to actually go ahead and click on this section here. It's a treatise called California Points and Authorities, section 50.171. So this is a great California resource that's on Lexis. This section is specifically contract was disaffirmed by minor. So it's really on point with what we're actually looking for. So that, again, another good reason to click on it. But again, the reason why these are so helpful, it just kind of lays out the law, really plain and easy to understand, and then all of these links here you'll see are to cases, sections of the family code or civil code. So those are all the primary sources that you should be aware of and should be using in your research. So I won't read through this on this video, but certainly you'd start to kind of go through this and read some of the materials. One other quick point before we move on. Anytime you are looking at a secondary source, over here on the left-hand side, there's a little option for table of contents. This can be very helpful for you in terms of seeing where you are in a particular treatise or practice guide. You'll see the section that we clicked on, but then you'll also see other sections around it. So, if this related to your issue, you can then link to one of these other sections in the treatise without having to go back and kind of search for it. And then it's just always good to kind of see where you are in the actual treatise, just to kind of conceptualize where you are. So that can be helpful sometimes for your research. Okay, so that was step one. Getting that base knowledge, finding the secondary sources that are helpful and on point. I'm going to hit the back button, get back to our search results, and then the second content area we'll look at today is case law. So here I'm going to click on cases up here at the top. And again, since we narrowed, we're already looking at just California case law, so that's great for our research. And again, at this point, you can then start to go through the cases if you wanted to. You could also use other filters over here on the left-hand side. We'll get more into some of these in a minute, but for now, let's just go ahead and click on the first result here. It's Berg v. Traylor. Okay, so when you're looking through case law, and especially with the brief research, you guys may be going through many cases. It's always great to use the case summary, which is a little mini brief of the case here at the top of the case. These are provided by our Lexis editors. It's just good to kind of see, all right, maybe this isn't helpful. I can move on with my case law research, or based on this overview, it does sound like it's going to be something that's helpful to me. So then I can invest the time and read this case more fully. So that's the first helpful tip. Second one is the Lexis headnotes. And these are a little bit more specific in terms of outlining the issues that this court talks about. So again, as you're reviewing these cases, you can kind of see the topic above here. This headnote is actually talking about contracts and formation and talking about minors, which is helpful for us. And as you go through, it says headnote 6 here. I'll focus on it. Says the law shields minors from their lack of judgment and experience, and under certain conditions vests them the rights to disaffirm their contracts. So, in this Kid Nation case, that could be a very helpful rule statement that we'll be using. Okay, so at this point, you found a helpful headnote, headnote 6 here. What you can do is you can click on this little arrow. That'll pop you down to the point in the case where that was actually stated. So you can see it in context in the actual court opinion. One other thing that you can do is, and again, just a helpful tip, if you are highlighting certain portions of a case and using it in your work product, if you highlight it with your mouse and then this little box will appear, click on copy. What that does is it gives you the option to choose a cite format. So in this list, you'll see a lot of different states and options. Standard is the 19th edition Blue Book, so if you select standard, hit select, it will give you the cite and the proper Blue Book format, as well as the pinpoint page where that language came from. So here, that language we highlighted, or I highlighted, came from page 818. So then at this point, you can then copy and paste this into your documents. Okay, so let me close that real quick. So now we found, a good section of the case. We found a great head note. This case looks like it's going to be on point for our research. At this point, you now have 3 tools that will help you expand the case law research that you've done. So the first one is actually in the head notes themselves. So if you're still here in the opinion, if you click on the little, pop-up arrow to get back to the actual head note. The headnote topics right above the language, these little arrows that you'll see allow you to choose an option called Get Documents. So whenever you see the headnote topic you're interested in, so here I'm going to click on minors, click Get Documents, and what that's going to do is it's going to actually show you every single case throughout the whole 50 states and federal and state jurisdictions that have a similar or the same headnote topic in that case. So you now see that there's actually 1,911 total cases throughout the United States that have a headnote related to minor contracts. So at this point, again, we're in California. You're only interested in California law. you can then come here and actually click on California, and now you have a list of all 68 cases in California jurisprudence that dealt with the topic of minor contracts. So that could be really helpful to hopefully find some additional case law. Okay, so that was the first tool. I'm going to hit the back button a couple times, get back to our Berg trailer case. The second tool is again up here at the top of the case. Over on the right hand side, you'll see a tool or a option called Legal Issue Trail. And this is something that's exclusive to Lexis that's extremely helpful at finding you additional case law. So what this does is you have this little button here that says Activate Passages. When you click on that, you'll see little boxes appear throughout the case opinion. So as you scroll through, and I'm actually going to scroll down to find Headnote 6 again. There we go. To find Headnote 6. So here this box is around Headnote 6. And again, if as you're going through the opinion, if you see sections that are helpful or on point, all you have to do is click inside that box, and you're going to get a list of cases that have cited your case, so Berg v. Trailer, for that exact legal issue. So here I just have one, but that's not bad. That's at least one additional case. But I know for a fact that this case, IB v. Facebook, cites Trailer for that statement, the law shields minors for their lack of judgment. So when I click into this Facebook case, I am then taken to the point where Berg v. Taylor is actually cited. So here it's talking about minor disaffirmance claims, and then you'll see here Berg v. Taylor cited. So it's a really, really nice, easy, fast way to hopefully find some additional case law. Okay, and again, depending on what box you click on, some legal issue trail reports will have much more supporting authority that you could maybe hopefully find, and obviously some sections don't have any, so it just depends on where you click. Okay, so that was tip number 2 in terms of finding additional case law, and the third tip is to actually shepherdize. So if I go back up here to the top of the page, you'll see the shepherd symbol kind of highlighted here in Berg v. Trailer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to shepherdize this one. I'm going to go back to the case law results. So get back to my original cases. And now I'm going to type in some additional facts. So, all of these cases aren't about, TV production or movies or, the movie industry. So what you could do, anytime you're looking for cases that have more specific facts related to your topic, what you can do is you can type in those additional facts, circumstances, whatever it may be, in the search within results. So if I did TV or, let's say, or movie, so that'll now find any of these 380 cases that have the word TV or movie in them somewhere. So now I have just 9 cases. So you can kind of play around with those terms. Obviously you can add more if you wanted to. You can exit out of that if you wanted to. It just depends on what you're looking for. So here I'm just going to actually click on the second case here, Roddenberry v. Roddenberry, just as an example. And like I mentioned, the third tool to expand your case law is shepardizing. So you can either click on the shepherd symbol on the case itself, or over here in the Shepherd's preview, you can actually go ahead and click on Shepherdize this document. Both will pull up the full Shepherd's report. Okay, so if you are looking to expand your research, obviously Shepherd's is great to make sure you're not relying on a case that's been overruled or reversed. That red stop sign is what you're worried about. But when expanding your research or finding additional case law, citing decisions here is a great tool. What that's going to do is it's going to show you every single case that's now cited this Roddenberry case. So you have a full list of every single case out there. At this point, the most important thing for you to do is to focus on the analysis. And then focusing on the analysis, ask yourself, why did you Shepherdize this case? Was it a case that you found that you liked, you're going to use in your work product and cite to it? Or a lot of times you may find cases that are the opposite. You may find a case that looks good for your opponent's side of the argument. And if it's the latter, so if it's a bad case for you, what you want to focus on here is the not positive language. So anything above positive, like cautionary, distinguished, sometimes it may say criticized or questioned. Those are the cases that you can look to hopefully find some analogies, or hopefully those cases are similar to yours. So for example, let's say we want to find, or we want to look at these distinguished cases. So I can click on distinguished. I now have, out of those cases, 3 that have said something, negative about this Roddenberry case. And with distinguished by, what that basically means most of the time is that there may have been a factual difference. So this case is a California case, so the law is the same. But in their case, there may have been a 14-year-old, and in your case, there may be, or the Roddenberry case, maybe it was a 5-year-old. So the age difference was what was different. So they're saying, we're not going to apply the standard stated in Roddenberry because that was a 14-year-old and we're dealing with a 5-year-old. So there's a distinguishing part of the case that's important. And the nice thing is that if you click on any of the cases from the Shepard's report, they'll take you right to the point where they discuss Roddenberry. So again, you can kind of see exactly what's going on and kind of make the determination whether that case is going to be helpful or not to you. So let me hit the back button real quick. So the opposite, though, is when you do find a good case, you still want a good case in terms of one that you're going to use in your work product. You still want to Shepherdize it, and then under the analysis, you want to look at the followed by. So in Shepard's, the followed by is actually what we call true positive, meaning that it specifically says something good about your case, the Roddenberry case. So these 10 cases either, for example, may have said the rule in Roddenberry is this. We like what they said. We're going to use the same analysis in our decision. So they're really following what Roddenberry's opinion stated. So these are the cases, if you liked Roddenberry, that you want to start with and hopefully find some really good examples of just additional supporting case law. Okay, so that kind of sums up the 3 things, or the 3 tools to find additional case law. So again, starting with a secondary source, always a great idea to kind of get that base knowledge. Then going on to case law, using the tools like HeadNotes, the legal issue trail, Shepard's to really just make sure you're finding all of the right cases. And generally, when you're done, you're seeing the same cases over and over. So that's when you do all of these kind of steps and you're seeing the same cases, that usually means that your research is complete. Okay, so again, just heading over back here to the home page. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself. Also, you're going to be rewarded for watching this video, so you're going to get enough rewards points to buy a $5 Amazon gift card. So to get those, or ensure that you get those points, just send me an email. And again, my email is aaron.eberle@lexisnexis.com. Send me an email, just in the subject line, write frog. That way I know it's that you actually watched this, and it's unique enough that people aren't emailing me frog usually. So any questions, again, good luck, and I hope you guys have a great brief writing problem.